Okay, so we're back in Cantabria, and as you can see, a little bit of rain coming down. We've been to a couple of towns just on the coast here. We've stopped off in St Vicente, and you can see there's actually a, would you call it a galleon? I'm not even sure what the technical definition would be, but there's a boat of sorts behind me, moored up here. And we also have the sea, which I've noticed, and there is probably a perfectly valid scientific reason for this. I've noticed here the ocean, the tide is actually, it's a tidal sea. It goes in and comes out as the days progress. Whereas in Barcelona, I've never really noticed the sea go out at all. So, as I say, I'm sure there's a perfectly valid reason for that, but at the moment it eludes me. So, quick scan around. This is St Vicente. We're going to be popping in there to grab a bit of lunch in just a moment. It is still quite refreshing to get rained on, but hopefully it'll lighten up a bit as the day goes on. And yeah, I'll take a few more photos and check it a bit later. Right, I've just been in the up on the tower of St Vicente. Pretty windy and rainy up there. I'm currently now down in the art gallery. Loads of stuff to see. It costs €2 to come in, which is pretty good value, because there's a museum upstairs as well. You hear the people kind of trumping around up there, and there's a nice little art gallery down here. So it's nice to get out there, have a look around, some good views. I'll put some photos up in a bit. But yeah, St Vicente is pretty nice. Definitely a nice castle, very old. It's got that smell, you know, that kind of musty smell to it, and yeah, really enjoyed it. So check in later. So we're just heading back to the hotel, and thought we'd stop here, taking some of the views of the Picos de Europa. It's quite a deep valley actually, this, or gorge, however you class it. My girlfriend's also informed me, I was talking earlier about tidal patterns, and I didn't know this, maybe it's common knowledge, but the Mediterranean has no tides, and as the sea to the north of Spain is the Atlantic, that is why it is tidal, and the Mediterranean is not. So I learned something new, and maybe you have too. We're going to go through there in a bit. Hey guys, today we're in Covadonga, which is a very important religious town. You can see the church just behind me, and it's an important religious town because this is where the Iberic Christians, around the year 722 AD, won their first battle against the Muslims who had invaded the Iberic Peninsula, and that started the long war between the two sides, about another 700 years approximately, where they retook the Iberic Peninsula. So it is, from that perspective, a very important place. It's quite quiet. I mean, there's tourists milling around, but plenty to see. There's a nice waterfall, which I'll get some snaps of later. And yeah, it's, again, you can see the setting up here in the mountains. Absolutely fantastic. So I'm not a particularly religious person myself, but yeah, you can feel that there's a very important history here. Right, so I'm back at the bottom now. There's a waterfall behind me and a well, and we've just come, I'll do a quick twist, from the church up there, a little cave, and then there's a chapel here which you have to climb up to, and we've just come down from there. There's a Virgin Mary in there, and you can line up and get your blessing in there. Not really religious myself, so not something I did, but a lot of people treat this almost like a pilgrimage, and they'll come as a priest up there doing a service, and yeah, a lot of people come, they've got the rosary beads and all the rest of it, and they like to come here and get their blessing. Also like to visit the well. I suppose there must be some kind of spring there, or kind of holy water. And yeah, it's just a beautiful setting. If again I do a quick spin without making people ill. You can see the mountains here are well away from the big cities and towns here, and this is yeah, an absolutely beautiful area. It hasn't rained yet, but I live in hope, because it's still pretty humid at the moment. So this is a free, I don't want to say attraction, but it's a free place to visit. You don't have to pay anything, although there are gift shops and cafeterias, but you can come and spend your money if you wish. But at the moment, the whole thing here is free. Covadonga, and it's a very interesting place. Again, I'm not overly religious, but just from a historical perspective, very interesting to see. So check it out. Okay, today we're in the mountain town of Bulnes. We just caught the funicular railway up here, and the town itself is only about 50 people. It's incredibly picturesque. Again, I've done my usual trick of tilting the camera. We are really kind of high up in the mountains, and we're going to do a little walk today. There's another town about an hour away, about 5 kilometers. We're going to walk down the mountainside now, back down to where we came from. And yeah, the funicular railway was only built in 2001. Before that, you had to walk all the way up here. So this town, which is now kind of thriving with tourists and stuff, this town was pretty much cut off. And it reminded me of a story one of my students told me a few years ago about these towns up in the mountains. I don't know if this is entirely true or if it's about this particular town, but they said that these towns in the winter, when they were kind of snowed in, you basically had to provision yourself for the whole winter, because there was no way, once the valleys got snowed in, there was very little chance that you could walk down into the larger towns to buy stuff, so they had to provision themselves. And they were effectively cut off for a big portion of the year from, you know, hashtag civilization, or inverted commas civilization. And that obviously presented a few problems for them, especially when people died, because what could you do with them? The dead folks. And what they did was bury them in the snow, and they had to keep them buried in the snow to prevent, you know, disease, infection, etc. And they would bury them for the whole winter in the snow, and then when the snow's melted, they would obviously bring them out again and take them down to the town so they could receive a burial. It just shows you how, you know, how when you're kind of disconnected from society in that way, people out here just have to fend for themselves. It's incredible kind of difference from how we're used to living. Sorry to be a bit morbid, but you know, it's an interesting story anyway. So we're going to have a little look around here. It is, as I said, incredibly picturesque. It's a beautiful little village here, Bulnes, and I think there's only about 50 people here, so obviously with the tourists that can double, triple, but beautifully idyllic setting. And if I do my spin trick, see the mountains there in the background. Absolutely stunning. So we'll be having a quick look around here, then we'll start to walk down. I'll put some photos up. All right, take it easy.